Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inclusive Workplaces with Amara. I'm your host, Amarachi Adanaya Igboegwu, and I always like to show my name so you can see how it is spelled. And I'm also known as Amara, so it's like the diminutive of my name, and you're absolutely welcome today. Today is going to be an awesome day because I get to share with you on this platform an incredible friend of mine who's going to be coming on to we're going to be talking about so many interesting topics. But before I jump in and get ahead of myself, I want to say a big welcome to everyone joining in from YouTube. Hello, YouTubers. You're all welcome, and if you're watching on the replay, you're most welcome to the show. And please feel free to engage on the platform. Send comments. I will definitely be looking at it. So a warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for showing up. Okay, so on Inclusive Workplaces with Amara, the show, I talk about the need to really build and create an environment that's inclusive in the workplace. And we do this by adhering to certain principles and practices. And on this show, I talk about those very principles and practices, the best practices, as well as I intend to, like today, invite other advocates and champions of DEI, other advocates that are really pushing for the need to humanize the workplace. And so today we have Vivian Acquah, who will be joining us shortly in about 10 minutes or so. But before we actually join in, I want to jump in. I want to, let's see here in the comment section, if there's anybody who would like to share where they're coming in from. Maybe you can go into the comment section and just type in where you're coming in from, where you're joining in from. Where are you joining in from? What country are you joining in from? I would love to see. I'd love to practice the different languages I speak. So, if you're coming from a country and I know your language, I will definitely say hello in your native language. You're all very very welcome. So today we're going to be talking about the need for more representation. And when I talk about representation, I'm actually talking about the representation of Black people and people of color in spaces of power and influence. This is Black History Month. We are celebrating Black History Month. And it's so important for us to highlight, and I think especially during this time of year, we're trying to highlight, and raise awareness around the issues concerning Black people and people of color. And so today we're going to be talking about representation, but we're not going to start talking about that yet because a couple of a couple of days ago, I put out a post, and a friend of mine, Audrey, she said, "Well, Amara, I don't know. I think we need to actually start with the definition, right?" She said, "What do we even know about diversity, equity, and inclusion?" And I think that's a great place to start. I think that a lot of times there are many words, DEIs, bandied around. Everyone talks about DEI, DEI. And sometimes it can be confusing for some people because everybody maybe tends to have their own understanding of DEI. I see that there's some comments here. Oh, great. Yay. Oh, fantastic. I see. Oh, great. Okay. So I see a couple of people here. It's fantastic. I see Gary Turner. Hello. Great to see you here. Excellent. Okay, and Helkenberg. Hello. Hello, Helken. Wie geht's? And there's Melanie. Bonjour. Hello, hello, hello. So we're just starting off. And as I said, Vivian will be joining us very soon. But I just wanted to, talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just really start off with the definition. As I mentioned earlier, my friend was asking me, like, so maybe Amar, you need to start with the definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I think I'm going to start right there. And I would love to know, when you hear these words in the comment section, please share with me, with everyone, what do you mean? What do you think it means when you hear the word diversity, equity, and inclusion? What words come to mind? Can you share? Maybe we'll start with that. I would love to start with that. So in the comment section, can you please write, when you hear the words diversity, equity, and inclusion, what words come to mind? Can you share? I'll give it a moment. Okay, I think that it's so important to I really believe that it's extremely important to talk about, terminology, because if you're in an organization and your organization has a completely different understanding of what DEI means, that can be troublesome. I was just in a another live stream with Melanie and oh, I've forgotten her name. It was Anastasia and Beba. I think this is her name. Yeah, I think so. Sorry, Beba, if you're watching this. And in their live stream, they talked about people who are DEI experts, who believe that there's really no such thing as unconscious bias, right? So you can imagine if if you're working in an organization and the idea of unconscious bias is completely uh, ignored, obviously there's a big problem. So it's important. This is why definition is so important. And so when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we start off with diversity, which is really an acknowledgement of the ways in which we present, the unique ways in which we present, right? The which we present in the workplace. Given, I mean, this is a workplace scenario or context, and so diversity really is about the different ways we present, the different things that we bring to the table. It really is about being who we are, and it's also the ability to embrace the different ways um, in which we present in the workplace. For example, I have a good colleague of mine who comes to the workplace. He dyes his hair every other month with different colors, and it's amazing. We love it, right? So that's his own way of showing his originality, right? His own authenticity, and he's able to do that in the workplace. So when we talk about diversity, it's really talking about the different ways that we bring, all the different ways in which we I keep saying the word present, but you get the idea. How we come into the workplace, the different mannerisms or characteristics, both seen and unseen, the different histories and backgrounds and personalities that we bring to the table. So important. So an organization that is aware, that embraces diversity, is one that would embrace the fullness of people. And then we talk about equity. What is equity? Right? Equity is about fairness. When we talk about fairness, we're really talking about addressing people's needs. I always talk about equity as the gateway to equality. A lot of times people tend to mix those up, but it's really addressing people's needs. And an organization that fosters equity is one that would create equitable access, that would ensure that there was equitable pay, that people were met where they're at, and that they provide a system that really enables the growth of their employees. So equity is something that really helps everyone really feel connected, right? Because then you feel like, yes, my needs are being met and they're being addressed. When we talk about inclusion, inclusion is that glue, the glue that brings everything together, right? Inclusion is I love to use this example that I've heard so many times, where we talk about um, inclusion as being as diversity as being invited to a party, and inclusion as being invited to dance. Can you imagine getting to a party that you're invited for and you're not able to get a drink, you're not able to dance, you're not able to talk to anybody? Like, you would be asking yourself, like, what's the point of being here, right? And that's exactly right, and that's how it feels like for some people. And that's what we're talking about on this show. We want to be able to address the issue of inclusion. So when we talk about inclusion, we're really talking about ensuring that people's voices are heard. That not only are they heard, but they are required. That people feel that their voices count, right? That they're seen. And a lot of times when it comes to decision making, the more you bring staff along, the better, because then people really feel they belong. They really feel connected. And I mean, who doesn't like to have buy-in? If you I work in the humanitarian sector, and the more you have the buying of the people, of the locals, the more the project works. And the same thing in the workplace. If you don't have the buy-in of your employees, chances are things are not going to go well. So these are some of the elements that are extremely important to be aware of. When we talk about inclusion, it's really the thing that brings these three elements together. The absence of inclusion is just another form of tokenism. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to seem as a performative person or employer. So yeah, this is what we mean when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I see something in someone in the comment section. Let's see here. Oh, okay, it is Chike. Hello, Chike. Great to see you. Thank you for joining in. Yeah. So we have Vivian. Yes, fantastic. And I'm gonna bring it right up. Dun da da. Drum roll. Hi.
Hi, hi everybody.
Hi, this is cool. This is really cool. I just, it's so great to have you here, Vivian. Thank you so
I'm gonna
much.
I'm gonna put my headphone on. Just one moment. Just one moment.
Sure. I mean, it happens. Okay, there we go. Are we good?
Yes,
Fan-
almost.
Fantastic, fantastico. Okay, so I am going to start off with a quick bio. Is she there? Okay, there she is. Okay, great. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm really excited to have Vivian here on the show because I met Vivian. I met Vivian. Okay, well, I'll just read her bio. I mean, she comes in. We'll just dive right into the topic. I met Vivian 2 years ago when she started her Amplify DI Summit, and when I saw that summit announced, I thought, wow, this is incredible. There she is. And I just felt like, wow, when I saw the summit Amplify DEI, I thought, who is this lady? Like, this is incredible. And so I wanted to be a part of her movement and, to lend my voice. And last year I got a chance to do that. And so, she's just incredible. Vivian is an inclusive workplace wellness advocate. And one thing I really love about her work is that she tries to really demystify DEI. Like, she doesn't want you to think, what is DEI? What? I don't understand. She's like, no, no, no. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is so you can use it, right? She wants to be able to make it accessible to everybody. And not only that, she also provides tools to really embrace inclusive changes. We know that change is really, really difficult. And if people don't have the right tools, it gets a bit difficult to do so, right? So she's really a strong advocate of really empowering people. And then one thing I love also is the use when she says, she wants people to think consciously. I talk about that a lot in my work, the need for conscious working. When you're conscious, that means that you're engaging in self-awareness, and that allows you to really engage with people, right? And that allows you then to take action. We don't want a lot of talking. We want more action. And that's exactly what
Exactly.
Vivian does. So, Vivian, you are absolutely welcome. Welcome. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And also thank you for being so patient. I'm on a girls' trip in the middle of nowhere, somewhere in the Netherlands. So I'm really excited to have this conversation here in Texel, of all places, in the Dutch islands. And also thank you, Amar, for the amazing bio. You're giving me too much credit. But the thing is, I want DEI to be bite sizable. I want everybody to understand that some people are swimming in the kiddie pool, and we need to also embrace that. We need to also provide them tools so that they are able to swim in the DEI ocean, which is very big, very big.
Yeah, absolutely. It's massive, and we definitely want people to. I mean, that's the need. That's the need to really demystify these words because sometimes we get
Exactly.
caught up, right? And they're like, "Oh, I don't know, what is this?" And we're like, "No, no, no, no. Look, it's really about care. What DEI is about building culture. It's about changing the culture of organizations to really be more people centered. We want organizations that really care for the employees because when you put the employees first, I mean, think about it, Vivian. Whenever you've ever been put, when you feel like your interests have been put, first, are you more likely to engage fully? What do you think?
They say happy cow give more milk, right? And the same goes for people, that when they are happy or when they are empowered, but also when they feel valued, they put in the extra line of work, they do something extra. But also when it comes to employer branding, right? It's a way to create a win-win situation, not only for your organization or your team, but also for the employee themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for that insight, Vivian. And for others who are watching, please, I would love to hear what you think in the comment section. What do you think? Have you ever I would like you to share, a time where you felt really valued. How did that make you
Mm.
feel, in terms of your work? Did you do more work? I would just love to hear what you have to say, because I really think that when we have that buy-in, when we feel like our bosses are really, really care for us, have got our backs, I will do anything. I would literally do anything. And I think
Anything, girl?
goes the same.
Anything?
Well, I
Anything?
mean, within the confines of work, obviously, but I would go the extra mile. That's what I mean. Like, I will go the extra
Mm.
mile, right? In anything, if you have a friend that cares about you and shows that, they care about you, you will go the extra mile for your friend, right?
Yeah.
Under the normal.
That's also one of the reasons why with Amplify DEI, I know what is out there and how certain speakers are being treated. And with Amplify DEI, provide not only providing a stage where speakers can, share their personal stories or can share stories that connect to on a human level. I want to be able to provide the speakers anything what they need to amplify their brand. So if it means that you need to learn how to create a fantastic presentation online or how to ignite yourself online, then I partner with Bogdan Manta, who is an amazing speaker, and he provided some workshops for the speakers so that the speakers can learn how to ignite themselves online.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, yeah, and I love your brand, and I love what you're doing, and you've got to keep going. So I know our guests are wondering, okay, we've been talking about the need for more representation of Black
Hmm.
people and people of color in spaces of, power and influence. And yeah, let's talk about the invisibility problem. Like, what do you think about, what's your take? I mean, what do you think about the lack of visibility of Black people and people of color in spaces of power and influence? And I preface this by looking at this through the lens of government,
Hmm.
culture, yeah, the culture
Yeah.
makers, so like the top directors at Hollywood and other, I'll talk about Germany and France and those who create movies that basically shape a cultural lens.
True.
Right, I'm talking about
True.
those people. I'm talking about the news also.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Universities, right? Literature, right? So these are the
Movies.
spaces of power, because this is what actually shapes our perspective. So
Yeah.
could you share? Yeah, go ahead.
What I have to say is that I'm an '80s baby, right? So I'm giving away my age already. But when I have to say, when I grew up, I was always looking towards the Janet Jackson or Michael Jackson or the black actors as well, and also actresses as well. And I could never see myself on the news. I could never see myself in a newspaper, or I could never see myself in the magazine. Unconsciously, you're sending out a message saying that black doesn't matter. And now, being here in this day and era where you have so many platforms, so many magazines, but also so many movies that are highlighting black expertise, black potential, but it's not enough because we don't see it in all places, and not everybody lives in the US where you can see a lot of black people. So I'm going to talk about the lens from I want to talk about the European lens, where the lack of representation for black professionals
Mm.
is lacking in the politics, it's lacking in the boards, and it's lacking in the places of power. So what I would like to inspire the organizations, because if you value inclusion, if you value diversity, then what are you doing to amplify the 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 needs or the careers or the careers of black professionals? What are you doing, and how are you mentoring them? Are you sponsoring them? What are you doing to accelerate their career so that they can pay it back, or they can pay it forward to the next generation as well? You cannot say that we aren't there, because we are there, and we have LinkedIn, we have Google. But if you're looking for a talent that is value of is adding value
Mm.
to your organization, there are so many recruiting organizations that value diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's time to have that real conversation about whose voice are you missing,
Mm.
because at the end of the day, more and more people will look on your website and will see maybe you have the diversity images, right? So that box is checked. But the moment that they step in your company and they see that it doesn't reflect the real representation, that's the moment that you have to do more work to bring in more, because now that they are in, you have to do the work to keep them, retain them. And it might not be as easy as attracting them, or
Mm.
the attracting part is most of the time easier. But when it comes to the job honeymoon, right? So after 6 months, how would you feel if after 6 months you're in a work situationship, or you're in a work and you realize that what they told you or what they shared with you isn't the real deal?
Yeah, absolutely. And Anka Sanam, oh my gosh, it's been such a long time, Anka Sanam. Thank you so much. It's like she said, great point, and I absolutely echo what she's just said. I
Mm-hmm.
think that a lot of times, people, and then we talk about, I just talked about tokenism, this idea of, having that black face, or a member of the LGBTQI plus
Yeah.
community, then, and you're like, oh yeah, I've ticked that that
Yeah.
box as well. And that's not enough. That is totally being tokenistic. Look at the boards, right? Who are those decision makers, and what can we do to make sure that we can see ourselves? I mean, I think
Yeah.
also of just little things. I remember living in Germany, and I'm not knocking Germany because I do love Germany, but I just realized living there that I mean, when you look at the ads, I mean, I just never saw that diversity. There was no representation. And I just always thought, like, why? That is so weird, like even on the trains, all around the city, and I lived in a very, very diverse city. And, there's really no representation whatsoever. I
Yeah.
have a good friend of mine who also wrote a book recently just because she felt like her kids were not getting any books that reflected her children.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another element when we think about in the grand scheme of things. Why is there this absence? And I know that Emmanuel Acho, he talks about this, like, because these societies, we're living in a we're living in a very segregated way, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
so, when you don't feel there's a need to, to show or to represent other people, it's because you think, oh, just being in a white world, in a normalized white world, is the way it should be, and that's what you've
Yeah.
always known. So it's normal. Like, what's the big deal, right? If you are a member of the majority, you don't think there's anything wrong, right? But if you are part of the minority, you think, like, where am I? Right, Vivian?
And
Where
that's
am
and
I?
that's and that's also one of the reasons why I love working with VR. So this is something that I have to share. A lot of people don't realize that people of color or people from the underrepresented groups are dealing with a lot of isms that are invisible for the majority, right?
Mm.
With the VR tool, you have the ability to be me. With the VR tool, you have the ability to be someone else, so that you can, even for 5 minutes, experience what others are experiencing and see why they get angry, see why they are frustrated, see why certain emotions pop up in the workplace, and also see a way for you to do better. Because now that you have seen this experience, now that you have experienced this thing yourself, where you are being excluded, or you are being treated in a certain way, or you're dealing with a whole Me Too situation, now that you know that and have experienced that for yourself, what can we do to do better? And that's where I believe that VR can definitely add a value, because it accelerates the awareness, it activates the empathy, and it also creates a deeper conversation. So in the beginning, I told you about some people are swimming in the kiddie pool. With the VR, you can accelerate people from swimming from the
Mm.
kiddie pool to pool number one or number two,
Mm,
for instance.
absolutely. You just raised a very, very key point. And another point that Anka Sanaman raises here, she says,
Mm-hmm.
it's the inclusivity that's so lacking. And I
Yeah.
feel that so. I feel that, Anka Sanaman, thank you. You can't have diversity or equity without being truly inclusive. Maybe we
Yep.
should change the order of how we say it. That's brilliant. That's a good point. Like, what do you think about that? I mean, so we have the VR, and I'm a big, advocate for VR because that kind of immerses you in that. But
It's
what
an
about even,
embodiment.
huh?
It's an embodiment.
Exactly. And what about even the way we address DEI? Because we kind of start with the diversity and the equity, but it's the inclusion that makes the difference. Like, without that, you literally have nothing, right?
True, true. But I do have to say that the equity part is not known in a lot of countries. So a lot of countries talk about DNI,
Mm-hmm.
right? And not realizing that you need to provide people tools for them to embrace and also to amplify their superpowers. So your tool might be that you need extra glasses or you need something else to amplify your career. And I
Mm-hmm.
need something else to amplify our career. Realizing that the realizing that we don't have the same upbringing, we don't have the same college, we don't have the same study, but yet again, we are both being amplified in the workplace because we are given certain tools so that we can be ourselves and that we can embrace ourselves in the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think that is one area that could, of course, when we talk about DEI, like the
Mm,
equity and inclusion, it's like it's like you start from the known, and then you're going into equity, which then
yeah,
amplifies the inclusion. So meeting people where they're at, absolutely,
yeah.
and then it's
I also
akere
like,
akran.
uh,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
also have to say something about that because you're
Mm,
saying meeting people where they are at. And I want to say that we need to amplify people from where they are starting. So I'm not
mm,
meeting you where you are at, but I can accelerate your journey by sharing what you know, by sharing what you need to know to
mm,
be somewhere at my level, right? Because
mhm,
meeting people where they're at, it feels like a back and forth thing that you're going back, and we need to prevent us from going back and forth the whole time. I want
mm,
to accelerate, amplify their DEI journey so that they can start from wherever point they are at. And I
mm,
really like the comment about selective inclusion.
mhm. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, International Women's Day is coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And given the fact that this month in the US it's Black History Month, but still I want to combine that with International Women's Day because when you look at the boards in the Netherlands, but also elsewhere in Europe,
Mm,
you'll see women are there, right? But when you dig a little deeper, do you see the intersectionality? And that's
mm,
where I know that that's selective inclusion because now that I'm not against any white women, but I do have to share that
yeah,
I'm lacking representation of women of color.
right.
It's lacking.
Yeah.
And that's something that needs to be done because women of color have different needs and we also see things different in a different way, and not
Absolutely.
having that representation means it's not trickled down to the whole organization, right? Because why are you adding women on boards if you're not including the diversity of women?
Exactly. Absolutely. And just imagine the potential, right? Just imagine the
Mm,
potential that's missing. That
exactly.
knowledge that's missing as well, right?
Exactly. And also referring to the McKinsey have done several studies
Mm,
that ethnic diverse companies have more financial gain.
right. Right.
And when we look at the bottom line, isn't financial gain the thing that a lot of companies are looking for?
Yeah, you would think, right? But still but still there's this gap. This gap still exists. So yeah, absolutely. I also want to Gary Turner says, love the idea of using VR to experience being othered. Yes.
Yeah.
You actually have done a lot in this space. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Gary.
so I've ever since last year, the end of last year, I partnered with Anita Baisa, who is, let's say, we are two peas in a pot,
Mhm.
and she does the technical part, and I do the training. But with the VR thing, I noticed that a lot of people were talking about racism isn't here, or we don't have this, or
Mm.
nobody said this, or did Peter do that? No, Peter is a good guy. Why should Peter say that? No, I
He's a
don't
nice guy.
believe you that Peter said that.
Mm.
So for people to be able to experience how it means to be uttered, right? Instead of
Mm.
talking about it, why not show you?
Mm.
Instead of show you, why not let you experience what I might be feeling just for
Mhm.
5 minutes?
Mhm.
Because after what you have seen, you cannot unsee what you have seen.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's really the power of VR. I think that immersive experience is what allows people to, like you rightly said,
Yeah,
feel and see things that you
yeah,
normally would take things for granted, right? We when we experience life in general. We are
It's not
literally
only that the thing that we take for granted, but some people really are not aware of the barriers that others are facing, and some people have never faced those barriers. So sometimes it can be intentional, but sometimes a lot of times it's unintentional because they have never been through that experience.
right, right. No, yeah, yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, like, with the VR, it just helps people to
Mm,
raise that awareness, and we know that self-awareness
exactly.
is an element that is lacking a lot of times
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
don't really engage in this self-interrogation, right? So this is
yeah.
a huge tool, and I think when we talk about solving this problem, which is, I mean, endless. This idea of dealing with the issue of representation and really bringing awareness, whether it's in government, in school, in writing, literature, the universities, these are all, halls of power. It could also help to bring this awareness to that level so that people can see, oh yeah, you're right. I mean, we know we've been talking about this for so many years, and the time has come. There's the technology to really help amplify these voices and to help really bring awareness around the issues, right? So there really should be no excuses, right?
To give you an example of what happened, I think in the month of November, December, an image went viral, right? There was this African student who was creating a crowdfunding for an image he created of a black woman
Hmm.
carrying a baby.
Hmm.
I've never seen that before. Have you seen
Mhm.
that? A lot of people never saw that, realizing that so many medical books are based on the white body,
Right.
and things on our body, on a black body, is being is experienced differently, but also seen differently. And if we don't provide that representation, then it can cause a life or death situation where it can be detrimental for the other.
Well, absolutely. And we have heard of cases of, women experiencing, like when they would go to the hospital, they would get less
Hmm.
drugs because they're like, oh, you're a black woman, you're a strong woman. I mean,
I heard and I
it just
cried too.
continues. I'm sorry.
I hurt and I cried too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, no, this is really great. Akira, oh, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Akere, I think. I'm not sure. Maybe you can tell me if I'm saying it correctly. She says here, before we wrap up, she says, I
Hmm.
think we need to give everyone an equal chance, which recognizes their diversity. Then
Mm,
provide equitable access by recognizing their peculiarities again, which would eventually lead to a successful
yeah.
inclusion. Well said. Well
I
said.
believe in creating an inclusive workplace. You need to know the ingredients. You need
Hmm.
to know everybody's ingredients, but also realize that your company, your people decide the ideal inclusion
Mm.
recipe, right?
Mhm.
Because the recipe that is applied to Google or to a Starbucks is different than the recipe that is applied to your company. So the best thing
Absolutely.
that you can do is have a conversation. Where do you see diversity? What do you value on diversity? And how can we together collaborate towards an inclusive workplace?
Absolutely. And this is exactly what I try to promote on my platform, Inclusive Workplaces with Amara, because this is exactly right. Like, how do we
Yeah,
share these best practices to really ensure that we're building a workplace that is inclusive? And I mean, think about it. Yes, where lots of us are working from home and some of us are maybe going back to the workplace. We spend such a crazy amount of time working with
exactly.
people. This
Yeah,
has to be part of the fabric or the framework
yeah.
of workplace, right? So we're about to round off, and I wanted to just, Vivian, can you tell us, a little bit some of the things you're working on and maybe where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm working on a lot of things, but what I can share right now is the Amplify empathy. So the VR training that I talked about, that's something that is very actual. And unfortunately, in the Netherlands, a Me Too situation happened. Me Too on the Voice of Holland. And now a lot of companies are reaching out to us for providing a Me Too prevention training, right? So
Mm,
that's something that we are working on.
okay.
Amplify DEI 2022. It will be coming this year in a different way, a
Okay.
smaller way. It's still impactful, but it will be coming. And in the meantime, I'm providing training, I'm providing workshops for any company that wants to support their employees and also wants to become inclusive. So that's what I'm working on at that moment right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vivian, for coming on. This was really valuable. And I'm sure people are saying thank you. I see, oh, we have some people from all the way from the Palestine showing it. Wow. Bye, Manny.
Thank you.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. And we also have, oh, great. Oh, yes. We have Anke Sinaman also sharing something really quickly. And I want to just quickly, put that up before we say
Yeah, the
goodbye.
single story. Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Anka Sanam, and you've been so fantastic and sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you, thank you. And Vivian, I just want to say a quick thank you to you, a warm thank you, not a quick one, a warm thank you for coming on the show. And I think this was really valuable for everyone. And just imagine everyone, staying in here, waiting and not waiting, but you know what I mean, just being here and sharing. I want to thank everyone, Anka Sanam and Ake. Mike, Manny for joining in, and everyone else. We have Juliet, and I know Helkin was here, and Melanie as well, and Gary Turner. You guys are
Hi,
amazing.
Melanie. Hi, everybody.
Thank you, and Chris and Chike. Okay, gosh, everyone that's joined us today. I just want to say a huge thank you. And literally every week, I'm going to try and bring in another voice to share because can we really expand all the different elements that make inclusive workplaces, Vivian?
Exactly. I
No.
think eventually you can, but we need to provide everybody the space for them to speak up and to talk about, right? That's the thing
Absolutely.
that we want to. And the fact that you are providing an example of how you can engage, people can engage in a conversation without stepping on people's toes, because that's the thing.
Mhm.
Um, it's a good start. 2022, we are going to make the world more inclusive than ever.
Yes, let's do this. So in the comment section, please say let's do this if you agree with us. and, and with that, I'm going to end the show. Thank you so much for coming. Dank je
You.
wel. And all the best. Thank
Graag
you,
gedaan.
everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. That thanks. Bye, everyone.